Alright folks, here we are today talking about 4-1 multiplication patterns with decimals. Alright, so when we're looking at this, we're looking for patterns when multiplying decimals. So I have here problem number 1. I have 1 times 75 hundredths. If you look down, I have 75 hundredths, 75 hundredths, 75 hundredths. 1 times, 10 times, 100 times, 1,000 times. Go ahead and do this one with me. So 1 times 75 hundredths, I know from the identity property of multiplication that 1 times any number is going to be that number. So 1 times 75 hundredths is going to be 75 hundredths. Now, when I'm multiplying with powers of 10, so I have 1, 10, 10 times more is 100, 10 times more is 1,000. When I'm multiplying with powers of 10, you're going to see here in a second that a pattern occurs. So I'm going to multiply 10 times 75 hundredths. Now, 10 times 75 hundredths is going to be 10 times more than 1 times 75 hundredths. So if I do 10 times 75 hundredths, I know it's going to be 7.5. Do you see a pattern yet? All right, let's try it again. 100 times 75 hundredths. Sorry. 100 times 75 hundredths. This is going to be 10 times more than 10 times 75 hundredths. All right, so 100 times 75 hundredths is 75. You see any patterns yet? All right. So 1,000 times 75 hundredths is going to be 10 times even more than 100 times 75 hundredths, and it's going to be 100 times more than 10 times 75 hundredths, and 1,000 times more than 1 times 75 hundredths. So if I did 1,000 times 75 hundredths, that answer is going to be 750. What have we noticed about our decimal here? It started at 0.75, went to 7.5, 75, and 750. Well, I'm glad you asked. If we look at it here, the decimal for the next one started here, moved to the right one. The decimal started here, moved to the right 2. The decimal started here, moved to the right 3. That's weird. Here's 3 zeros here, decimal moved to the right 3 times. 2 zeros here, decimal moved to the right 2 times. 1 0 here, decimal moved to the right 1 times. No zeros here, decimal moved to the right 0 times. So when I'm dealing with powers with 10, powers of 10, I should put greater than 1 here. Greater than 1. You're going to move the decimal to the right. Alright, and that's going to be the same amount of places as there are zeros. Alright? Alright. So I'm going to move the decimal to the right the same amount of places as there are zeros in the multiplication. Alright, so that's for powers of 10 greater than 1. Now, what if my powers of 10 are less than 1? Well, let's try this one out. Identity property of multiplication tells us 1 times anything is going to be that number. Alright. So my decimal really starts here. 1/10 times 1,353 is 10 times less than this. So that's going to be 135.3. 100th times 1,353 is going to be 10 times less than this. So it's going to be 13 and 53 hundredths. Do you see a pattern yet? And 1,000th times 1,353 is going to be 10 times less than 100th. So that's going to be 1 and 353 thousandths. So just like we saw before, 1 is going to stay the same. Wait, here's 1 0, 0.1. I moved it to the left 1. 0.01, moved it to the left 2. 0.00, moved to the left 3 places. So for powers of 10 less than 1, the decimal moves to the left. That's going to be the same amount of places as there are zeros. All right? All right. Last but not least, make sure you got this chart here that I got going on down here. Powers. Multiplying by tens. All right, so if I'm going to do, we know that 10 to the power of 1 is just multiplied by 10. 10 to the power of 2 is really doing 10 times 10. 10 times 10 is 100. How many zeros are there? There are 2. Powers of 3, 10 to the power of 3, is really saying 10 times 10 times 10. The product is 1,000, and there are going to be 3 zeros. Powers of 4, 10 to the 4th power, is really like saying 10 times 10 times 10 times 10, and that's going to be 10,000s. And how many zeros are going to be on that one? Go ahead and do that right now. There we go. Coming back to it, there are 4 zeros. That's all we got for 4-1. Make sure you take some great notes.